Hi everyone, welcome once again to Root Access. You're plugged in and logged on. Okay, fine. We love to get to your questions here on Root Access, of course. And for this segment, good question coming to us from Pete. Pete asks, since you both worked at Apple previously, I'd like to know your thoughts on Apple's recent decision to block Facebook in the stores. Thank you for your question, Pete. First of all, as we understand it now, this isn't a global, a universal block of Facebook. I understand in Japan they're blocking Bebo instead. Are you a Bebo user?
I don't know what that is.
That's like Facebook, except different colors. Kind of like how Facebook is MySpace, but harder to delete.
Okay.
It's that kind of thing. But anyhow, this is not the first time that certain websites have been blocked in the Apple Store.
Yeah, when we worked there, they blocked MySpace.
And at least, at more than one store. I don't know if it was a universal thing or not. I almost have to think it was, which leads me to a little parenthetical here. So if they are blocking a particular site in the store, would that fall to the geniuses? I mean, where would that blocking actually take place?
Well, unless they've changed it. When we blocked Facebook, it was just
MySpace.
MySpace. You could just set it up in the parental controls under Safari.
In each computer.
Yeah, so it was just set up that way.
Okay.
There wasn't nothing done like router side or anything. And it's kind of a weird situation. On one hand, Apple, it's their business, so they can decide, what you're viewing in their stores. No one's, you're not paying for internet access or anything like that. On the other hand, do you care if someone's watching Facebook versus like spending 2 hours looking at CNN.com and Sports Illustrated and ESPN? Like, what's the difference,
really?
Well,
I think what it comes down to is Apple, wants to make sure those computers are available for actual customers, and they think Facebook users probably skew more towards the teenagers that are just in the mall.
Yeah, and they're going to take up more time on the
take up more time, take up more computers. And I can say from, kind of a selfish personal standpoint, when I worked there, I didn't care what people did on the computers, but I did care if the store closed at 9 o'clock and the teens come in because we didn't put our gate down yet while the other stores are closing, and they run in and start getting on MySpace or Facebook. But that's just because I worked there, and we'll suck it up. But I don't think that means you should block it all day.
Yeah, and certainly I've seen cases where Mac specialists were trying to demo a Mac to a customer, and there was no available computers, and they would just nicely ask somebody, hey, if you're not really using that for anything important, do you mind if I? And no one had a problem.
Right.
Nobody did.
But one thing that's changed in the Apple stores through the years, there are actually fewer computers out now.
Yeah, in like the 30-foot stores, certainly. There's more iPods and phones.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so maybe before your store might have 18 computers in total all around, you might have 6 or 7 now. So I can see how people monopolizing time. But like you said, there'll be something else. If you block Facebook, there'll be another hip site.
Yeah, so, it's only gonna... I lost my train of thought.
It's not going to move. It's going to change. It's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not Facebook. It's going to be something else, so why bother?
There you go. And I know we've talked before that sometimes the geniuses, authorized or not, would use the remote desktop to kick people off.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do that. When we used to do that, it was a much slower store, so you had time to sort of putz around and do that, but we would have a laptop set up with remote desktop, and you could basically lock the screen or boot people off. I don't think any of the stores do that now.
Do you remember if that was a local creation, or if that was kind of what the advice given by corporate to do at the store level?
Well, at the time... I think that was at the time when you still had to install remote desktop. It wasn't part of the OS.
Okay.
And that came with the the disk image that we used on all the floor machines. So it was there. It was put there in place at your discretion if you wanted to use it.
If you needed.
Yeah.
Okay. And when things are slow,
there's nothing to do. There's nothing more fun than locking the screen on somebody when they're in the middle of typing their email.
Because the big thing then also was iChat, and I'm going to do a blog about this as well. It might be up by the time you see this. Does anyone use iChat anymore? Does anyone do instant mess? I used instant messaging far more 2, 3, 4 years ago than today.
I use it at work. I leave it on at work.
Well,
But at home I never have it running. So because I think now people are communicating. You just communicate with your phone or on Facebook. And see, there you go.
But now you can. What are you gonna do? So now instead of being on Facebook, I guess they'll just pick up the phones and make calls in the Apple Store.
Yeah.
How about that? You're going to block certain numbers?
It's kind of silly, but...
And I know when we worked there, there weren't blocks. It was always funny to me when MySpace got blocked because there weren't really any blocks on adult sites.
Yeah, exactly. So, you would, every once in a while you'd walk by and there'd be this random pornography that somebody put up as like a prank.
Right.
But...
Or just because they needed to see it. I don't know. We'll call it a prank. What am I saying? And sometimes it would be in the front window, which was always fun.
Yes. This actually reminds me of a story now that you mentioned that, where I think when I was at the Genius Bar and a customer came up to me and said, "That girl over there she's typing pornography," and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's typing pornography." And I just like peeked her. She was like real close to me. I just peeked around the corner, and she was just writing like an email to somebody. And I don't know what the email included, but I just like, that's not pornography, and that's her business. Like if she wants to write a dirty email to somebody, I wouldn't call that pornography. But then again, I have different tastes.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So, but I guess the bottom line here is, I mean, it's Apple's store, and they can choose to block what they want. But if you block Facebook overall, that's kind of silly. Now, granted, you have stores like the Fifth Avenue store where people might just camp out there all day.
Sure.
It doesn't close. They'll just hang out there all day if you don't limit it in some manner. Does that really hurt business? I don't know.
No, there's a huge demographic of people who are on Facebook who also will buy Macs. So I wouldn't block it.
Right. Because what do you say then? If you've worked so hard with these iPod ads and everything to make Apple be the hip, cool company, and then this 15-year-old comes into your store to update their status to say, hanging out at the Apple store, and you have Facebook blocked, when now they can go down the street to the Microsoft store.
Soon enough, soon enough.
And they can get right on to Windows Live.
Yeah, their live space or
and whatever it's called. Enjoy.
Well, actually, Microsoft, they own part of Facebook now.
Oh, jeez. So. Well, they will. Then maybe that's why Apple's blocked.
That's probably why. Yeah.
There's your conspiracy theory. Let us know what you think. Root@thedigitallifestyle.tv. Thank you, Pete, for the question, and we'll see you again soon.